नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूप कदा मह्यं ददान्ति सुपदान्तिकं वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरुं श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरुं वैष्णवंश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सगुणरघुनाथं विदं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सगणललिता श्रीविशाखां विदंश्च। हे कृष्णा करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधो जगत्पदे गोपेश गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमोस्तुते। तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। वाञ्छा कल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंदा। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। हरि ओम तत्सत। हरे कृष्णा। So we are reading from Nectar of Devotion, chapter 14, devotional qualifications. Some scholars recommend that knowledge and renunciation are important factors for elevating oneself to devotional service. But actually, that is not a fact. Actually, the cultivation of knowledge or renunciation, which are favorable for achieving a footing in Krishna consciousness, may be accepted in the beginning, but ultimately they may also come to be rejected, for devotional service is dependent on nothing other than the sentiment or desire for such service. It requires nothing more than sincerity. So, what Rupa Goswami says here, some scholars recommend that knowledge and renunciation are important factors for elevating oneself to devotional service. Okay? But ultimately, they may also come to be rejected, for devotional service depend on nothing other than sentiment or desire for such service. So that's not the main criteria. It is just our greed or our desire to do that, intense desire. It requires nothing more than sincerity. Knowledge and renunciation will automatically come. So extra endeavor is not required. If you have that sincere endeavor or greed for doing devotional service, it will be manifested by the mercy of Sri Sri Guru and Gauranga. So that is what Rupa Goswami says. It is the opinion of expert devotees that mental speculation and the artificial austerities of yoga practice may be favorable for becoming liberated from material contamination, but they will also make one's heart harder and harder. They will not help at all in the progress of devotional service. These processes are therefore not favorable for entering into the transcendental loving service of the Lord. Actually, Krishna consciousness, devotional service itself, is the only way of advancing in devotional life. Devotional service is absolute. It is both the cause and the effect. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is the cause and the effect of all that be. And to approach him, the absolute, the process of devotional service, which is also absolute, has to be adopted. So, Krishna conscious service is not dependent on anything. These are all external. The Jnanis thing, without knowledge, we cannot practice spirituality. It is not so. It is just the mercy of the Supreme Lord and the intense desire of the practitioner. Even the knowledge can be imparted or into the heart of a pure devotee by a pure devotee. Okay, so the person who is having intense desire to practice Krishna consciousness, to him, by a pure devotee, the knowledge and other required qualifications can be transferred into the heart of the pure devotee. So this is required. The intense desire and greed is required. All other things are external, and it is the cause and effect. Here it says, devotional service absolute, and it is both the cause and the effect. So the means to attain devotional service is also the cause. Just like we all know, Lord Brahma did not study any books. The required knowledge, the qualification was just imparted into the heart of Lord Brahma by Garbhodaka Sai Vishnu. The gopis of Vrindavan, they are not Vedic Pandits. They are not Vedantis. But this, the instruction or the way they are behaving, it is more than the Vedantis. All their, what you call prayers, Gopi Gita, it's all excellent. It is beyond the Vedas. So that means that the bookish knowledge is not that important. The mercy of the Supreme Lord is important. Even Dhruva Maharaj, just 5 years old, how could he glorify the Supreme Lord? He did not have the required qualification nor any knowledge to glorify them. So Lord himself imparted the required knowledge so that Dhruva Maharaj can glorify Supreme Lord adequately. So the external knowledge and renunciation, yes, as far as a practitioner, a beginner, it's okay. The jnanis also think that way. But for a devotee, the mercy of the Lord is required, and he should have that intense desire to serve the Supreme Lord. So they will be automatically getting that required knowledge and other qualification so that they can glorify the Supreme Lord in a very nice way. So that's how Lord manifests in the heart of a devotee. If you don't have that intense desire, the Lord will be there, but he will not manifest or he will not inspire the devotee to glorify him. The conversation between Ramananda Rai and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Ramananda Rai says, Tumi Vakta, Tumi Bhokta. I mean Shrota. Tumi Vakta, Tumi Shrota. Okay. You are only saying and you are only listening. How? Because Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is making him say, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is listening also. So it is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu who is doing everything. So Ramananda Rai has been used as an instrument to impart this knowledge to others. So who gives the knowledge? Chaitanya Mahaprabhu or Lord Krishna. So since he is a pure devotee of the Lord, he is giving the credit to Ramananda Rai. It's not that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu doesn't know anything. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu knows everything. So he wants to give the credit to Ramananda Rai. So he makes him say all these things. So he give the required knowledge, whatever he's supposed to. So he starts from, the conversation starts from the devotional service. What is devotional service? What is the topmost devotional service? He starts from Varnashrama Dharma. Slowly and gradually he takes not that, say more. And he takes him to the topmost knowledge of Gopi Bhav or conjugal love. So this is how. So if a devotee has intense desire or greed to approach the Supreme Personality of God, glorify him, to do devotional service, so he will impart the necessary knowledge and guidance. So this is what Rupa Goswami emphasized here. So this is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita by the Lord himself. One can understand me only through devotional service. In the beginning, his teaching of the Gita, the Lord said, Arjuna, because you are my devotee, I shall teach this secret to you. Vedic knowledge means ultimately to understand Supreme Lord. And the process of entering into his kingdom is devotional service. This is accepted by all authentic scriptures. Mental speculators neglect the process of devotional service. And by simply trying to defeat others in philosophical research, they fail to develop the ecstasy of devotion. The jnanis mainly, they want to refute others and establish their own version of scholarship or philosophy. So that in that case, they don't get the taste for devotional service or loving Krishna. They are stuck there. They cannot go beyond that. That is the mode of the Shat Goswamis in Vrindavan. They are not there to refute or debate any other scholars. They are engaged in pure devotional service. So when any scholars comes to debate with Rupa Goswami, Sanatana Goswami and other Goswamis, pure devotees, they don't agree. And they will just sign and give, yes, we have got defeated. You take the certificate. We don't want the certificate. We want Krishna prema. So that is the, intensity with which all the Shat Goswamis of Vrindavan and pure devotees, behave. They are not for name and fame. That is on the Jnana platform. As far as the devotee is concerned, they just want to please Lord Krishna. So to that effect, they will go and do anything and everything. It's not for their own sense gratification. Scholarship, philosopher, okay? This is for name and fame. So Jnani is, I want to be the number one scholar. I want name and fame in all the three worlds. So they are stuck there. They will not get Krishna Prema. So Rupa Goswami is giving the highest knowledge. The devotee should have Krishna Prema. And to have Krishna Prema, the means is devotional service, and the goal is also devotional service. It's not that after we get liberated from this material world, we'll stop doing devotional service. We continue to do devotional service. This is an eternal occupational position of the Jivatma. So this we have to understand. This is what Rupa Goswami is emphasizing here. So in the 11th canto, 20th chapter, verse 31 of Srimad Bhagavatam, Krishna says, "My dear Uddhava, for persons who are seriously engaged in my service, the cultivation of philosophical speculation and artificial renunciation are not very favorable." See, it's very clear here. My dear Uddhava, though is an instruction given by Krishna to Uddhava. The persons who are seriously engaged in my service, cultivation of philosophical speculation and artificial renunciation are not very favorable. When a person becomes my devotee, he automatically attains the fruits of the renunciation of material enjoyment, and he gets sufficient knowledge to understand the absolute truth. So this is required. So when we get the mercy of the Supreme Lord, the renunciation is also, received, and he also gets the knowledge. So what is required? The mercy of the Supreme Lord and our intense desire to do devotional service to the Supreme Lord. So these are the real factor for becoming a devotee. When a person becomes my devotee, he automatically attains the fruits of the renunciation of material enjoyment, and he gets sufficient knowledge to understand the absolute truth. That is a test of advancement in devotional service. A devotee cannot be in darkness, because the Lord shows him special favor and enlightens him from within. So if he has the grace or the mercy of the Lord, he cannot be in darkness. He will always in knowledge. It's not the bookish knowledge. Anybody can read the books and understand, but that also to the limit of their senses, that understanding also can go wrong. But when Lord Krishna blesses him, the anugraha, when we get the anugraha of Lord Krishna, everything will fall in place. So in the 11th canto, 20th chapter, verses 32 and 33 of Srimad Bhagavatam, the Lord further instructs Uddhava, "My dear friend, the profits derived from fruitive activities, austerities, the culture of philosophical knowledge, renunciation, the practice of mystic yoga, charity, and all similar auspicious activities are automatically achieved by my pure devotee." So these are all the side benefits. When you become a pure devotee, he will exhibit all the good qualities of a civilized person, just like a byproduct it is. So a pure devotee means he's sober in his character, and he is very charitable, he is very compassionate, he is very tolerant, he is humility personified. So all the qualities that are required will be there. So that's a sign of a pure devotee. So they don't have to specifically endeavor for all these qualities. So pure devotee means he must exhibit all these things. So the best examples, our Srila Prabhupada, Shat Goswamis, all the acharyas, because even they would have remained selfish like all of us. So there should be some personalities who should do some good work for others, welfare activities for others. It is a must, otherwise society will go into darkness more and more. So all of us, to the extent possible, we should also impart this knowledge. Otherwise, it will go into the hellish region only. So because so many such people, saintly personalities are there, we are all getting benefited. How many of us, you know, we are all you know, eating grains, pulses, vegetables, right? How many of us have cultivated agriculture or vegetations? How many of us are into that agriculture or cultivation of vegetables and other things? How many of us have eaten mangoes? All of us. Okay. But how many of us have planted a mango tree? Yes, one.
Prabhuji,
But
long
yeah,
back we used to do, Prabhuji, not now.
what is that?
Long back we have done, but not now.
Yes, but we have done. But if you take this whole population, maybe hardly 1 or 2% may have done such things. So because somebody has done such good activities, we are enjoying the fruits of that, right? So we have to do that. Srimad Bhagavatam says, you know, Paropagarartham idam shariram. This body is meant for giving upakara, okay, help to other living entities also. Not only to human being, to other living beings also. So every one of us have to do their part. We should not be so selfish that only I want to enjoy, not others. So all these, you know, saintly personalities have done a great effort. That's why we are all enjoying this, you know, getting this knowledge and trying to do or practice what we are supposed to in the human form of life. Otherwise, how is it possible? We will be, you know, like the, what you call, the tribals, uncultured, uncivilized people. We are to a certain extent, but we are trying to come out of it. Okay. Although in the city, it's said that city people are civilized and cultured. Is it so? Externally, they are appearing good because they are wearing shirt, pant, suit, coat, and all. But internally, they are not cultured. They are not civilized. Much better are those people who are away from city, in the villages. So the more you get into this city life, the more we become corrupted or contaminated. So if you just look back 50, 70 years back, those living in the villages, they live a principled life, regulated, disciplined life. What about now, the present age, those who are in the cities? They're totally contaminated, corrupted, and they do what not. So this is, actually city life and such lives are really spoiling. So that's why Prabhupada says should go back to basics. Simple living, high thinking. So all these saintly personalities, the Acharyas, the Shat Goswamis and all, have done a great work for all of us, welfare activities for all of us. So that at least we know now what is what. How much we are practicing, that is a different thing. At least we know what is right, what is wrong, and how we can attain the goal of human life. This is the mercy or the compassion of all the great Acharyas. So in the 11th canto, 20th chapter, verses 32 and 33 of Srimad Bhagavatam, the Lord further instructs Uddhava, my dear friend, the profits derived from fruity activities, austerities, the culture of philosophical knowledge, renunciation, the practice of Nishcha Yoga, charity, and all similar auspicious activities automatically achieved by my devotees. Those who are simply attached to me by loving service, these devotees have everything at their disposal, but they desire nothing outside of my devotional service. So we'll come to that stage that we will not be interested in the external enjoyment. Once we get this taste of devotional service, nothing more is there to enjoy, because you are enjoying the highest. So what is this petty enjoyment, material enjoyment? It's nothing. If ever a devotee should desire some material profit like promotion to the heavenly planets or some spiritual profit to go to the Vaikunthas, by my costless mercy, the desires are very easily fulfilled. So if at all we have that desires also, that also by the costless mercy of Krishna, it will be fulfilled. Actually, a person who is developing Krishna consciousness and still has some attachment to material enjoyment will soon be freed from such a tendency by regularly discharging devotional service under the instruction of a bona fide spiritual master. So to come out of this attachment of materialism, so we have to take shelter of a spiritual master and follow his instruction. That is required. On our own, it is very difficult. We need a guide, spiritual guide, so that he guides us rightly, what is good, what is bad, what is right, what is wrong. He will instruct us, and when we follow such personalities, then we will be able to attain the goal of life. So discharging devotional service under the instruction of a bona fide spiritual master. So bona fide spiritual master is on the Uttamadhikari platform or Madhyamadhikari platform. So we are on the lower grade. So we have to approach somebody who are superior to us. Srila Rupa Goswami then recommends that one should not be attached to material sense enjoyment, but should accept everything enjoyable that is in relationship to Krishna. So we should not be after the material enjoyment, and we should enjoy anything that is in relationship to Krishna. For example, eating is necessary and one wants some palatable dishes to satisfy his sense of taste. So in that case, for the satisfaction of Krishna, rather than for the satisfaction of the tongue, some palatable dishes may be prepared and offered to Krishna. That is renunciation. Let the palatable dishes be prepared, but unless they are offered to Krishna, one should not accept them for eating. This vow of rejecting anything that is not offered to Krishna is actually renunciation. And by such renunciation, one is able to satisfy the demands of the senses. So our mode should be that anything that Krishna likes or Krishna instructs, we should be doing. So if at all we have some material desires, slowly and gradually he will take it away. Krishna will take it away. And he will spiritualize us, and we will be enjoying more and more in that relationship. The impersonalists who try to avoid everything material may undergo severe austerities, but they miss the opportunity of being engaged in the service of the Lord. So those who are on the path of impersonalism, they're taking a lot of austerities, severe austerities. But then what is the gain? The profit is not very good, because they will not get the pure devotional service. And they will reject everything that is material. But a devotee, a bhakta, will not reject anything. Everything that is in the material world, he will use in the service of the Lord. So that's why he is enjoying materially also, and he is enjoying spiritually also. He is not renouncing anything. Oh, this is material, I know it will entangle me in this material world. No. So he wants to enjoy a palatable foodstuff. What will he do? Initially, he will offer it to the Lord and partake the remnants. So this is as a beginning. Slowly and gradually, that will become a habit of that devotee. And without offering, he will not be able to eat. As we all know, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj at the age of 5, when his father Bhakti Vinod Thakur brought a crate of mango from market, just he took one and ate. So very lightly he chastised his father Bhakti Vinod Thakur. Oh, even without offering to Lord Krishna, you ate that. He understood at the age of 5, he understood the graveness of the mistake that he did. And from then on, he did not eat. He just, okay, this is a mistake that I have done. Let me punish myself. This great austerity that he took. From then onwards, he did not eat mango at all, because he did a mistake of eating without offering to Krishna. So this was the austerity that he took. How many of us will be able to take that? Even at this age, we cannot do that. Forget about the age of 5. So this is the commitment the devotees take. It is for the advancement of Krishna consciousness, not simply renouncing that. So that it's a reminder for us every time, oh, I did a mistake and I should not do such mistake. So this is the extent that devotees will satisfy Lord Krishna. There are many instances where following such artificial renunciation without any contact with devotional service, the impersonalists again fell down and became attracted to the material contamination. There are many supposed renouncers, even at the present moment, who officially become sannyasis or renouncers and outwardly claim that spiritual existence is truth and material existence untruth. In this way, artificially they make a show of renunciation of the material world. However, because they cannot reach the point of devotional service, they fail to achieve the goal, and they again come back to material activities such as philanthropic work and political agitation. There are many examples of so-called sannyasis who gave up the world as untruth but again came to the material world because they were not seeking their real repose at the lotus feet of the Lord. So artificial renunciation, the artificial knowledge, this will not take them for a long, because when they don't get the real taste, then they will come back and start again doing the same thing. Although they claim that this material world is untruth, Jagat Mithya, Brahma Satyam. They say only, it's a only lip service. But when it comes to reality, they want to enjoy this material world. Although they say that Jagat is Mithya. So this will be, the result for those who are following the impersonal path of liberation. They may get liberated from this material world, but they will not attain the ultimate goal of life, which is Krishna Prema. So they will miss that ecstatic life. One should not give up anything that can be utilized in the service of the Lord. So that is the secret of devotional service. Anything that can be utilized in advancing Krishna consciousness and devotional service should be accepted. For instance, we are using many machines for the advancement of our present Krishna consciousness movement. Machines like typewriters, dictating machines, tape recorders, microphones, and airplanes. Sometimes people ask us, why are you utilizing material products if you condemn the advancement of material civilization? Many times people have asked Prabhupada, you say these are material, this is not required, you have renounced everything, then why are you using all these things? So Prabhupada answers, it's not for my sense pleasure. I am using this in the service of Supreme Personality of Godhead. So anything that is material, what is available, maybe very advanced gadgets or technology that can be used in the service of Supreme Personality of Godhead, not to reject anything. So what is this called? What Vairagya?
Yukta Vairagya.
Yukta Vairagya. Everything should be used in the service of Supreme Lord. So why are you utilizing material products if you condemn the advancement of material civilization? But actually we do not condemn. We simply ask people to do whatever they are doing in Krishna consciousness. This is the same principle on which in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna advised Arjuna to utilize his fighting abilities in devotional service. Similarly, we are utilizing these machines for Krishna service. With such sentiment for Krishna or Krishna consciousness, we can accept everything. If the typewriter can be utilized for advancing our Krishna conscious movement, we must accept it. Similarly, the dictating machine or any other machine must be used. Our vision is that Krishna is everything, Krishna is the cause and effect, and nothing belongs to us. Krishna's things must be used in the service of Krishna. That is our vision. Hare Krishna. So many paras we read. So devotees, please share your thoughts or any questions, or you want to comment something before we read further. Hare Krishna. Anything to contribute? or share something?
Hari Bol Prabhu.
Hari Bol. So everything understood.
Hari Bol Prabhu.
Okay. We'll read further. This does not mean, however, that we should give up the principles of discharging devotional service or neglect abiding by the rules and regulations prescribed therein. In the neophyte stage of devotion, one must follow all the principles regulated by the authority of the spiritual master. So this is very, very important for all of us to understand. Since we think that we are all doing devotion, so we should not be regulated, we should not follow any rules and regulations. No, we are all in the beginning stage. We have to follow the rules and regulations. Even Prabhupada and such saintly personalities not required to follow, because they are not on our level. They are on a really high level. 24 hours they are in Krishna consciousness, but still they are following rules and regulations just to set an example, so that we also follow such rules and regulations. If they don't do, what will happen? The general mass will also, okay, he has not done, so why should I do? Just like what was the necessity for Lord Krishna or Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to go to school and learn things? Was it necessary? What was the necessity for Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Krishna, Lord Ram to accept spiritual masters? Was it necessary? Why did they do that? Why did they go to school? What was the reason? Yes. What was the reason? Did they lack anything in knowledge?
No, Prabhuji, for setting an example for all of us.
Yes, setting an example for all of us. That's why, what is that sloka in Srimad Bhagavad Gita? Acharyat, what is that? I forgot.
Yad Acharyet Shrestha.
Shreshtas. Yad Acharyet Shreshtas.
Tattevo itaro janaha.
Bhakti Shastri students, please come. Yadat Acharyet Shreshtas tatat evataro janaha. I forgot, in fact.
Sayat pramanam kurute.
Sayat pramanam kurude.
Logastadana vartade.
Yes. So what does it mean? Whatever the great personalities, okay, whatever activities the personality, the common people will follow. So the leaders should set an example. If they are loose, if the leaders are loose, what will happen? The common man also will be loose. If they are strict, they can also, give this knowledge to the ordinary citizen, ordinary general mass of people, so that they will follow. If the leaders, okay, suppose somebody is smoking, the father is smoking, and father is telling the son, smoking is not good, you should not. Will he listen? Will that instruction be effective?
Smoking instruction will be effective, Prabhu.
So like that, so the leader should set an example. So that is the reason, although it was not necessary for Lord Krishna, Lord Ram, Lord Chaitanya to go and accept education from schools or getting spiritual masters, but they did so just to set an example for common people. Okay, so the acceptance and rejection of things should always be in persons of the devotional principles. So whatever is favorable, we should accept. Whatever is unfavorable, we should reject. So based on the devotional principles. Not that one can independently manufacture some idea of what should be accepted or rejected. So the rejection and acceptance should not be based on our mental level, mental thinking. It should be supported by the scriptures and the acharyas. Not that one can independently manufacture some idea of what should be accepted or rejected. Spiritual master, as the visible manifestation of Krishna, is necessary, therefore, to direct the devotee on behalf of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So we should follow Guru, Sadhu and Shastra, not whimsically. We should manufacture something, accept something, reject something. No, that should not be the case. So any points? No? Okay, so we'll read further. The spiritual master must never be carried away by an accumulation of wealth or a large number of followers. The spiritual master, oh, should not be, bro, I have got so many followers, so many disciples, and I've got so much wealth. Then he is not a spiritual master. Whether he is having one disciple or 1 million disciple, whether he is having little asset or no asset, of course they are not after asset, but still in the external view, if he has some wealth or no wealth also, they are least bothered. What is bothering them? Because people are not taking up Krishna consciousness. That will bother them again and again. So a bona fide spiritual master will never become like that. But sometimes if a spiritual master is not properly authorized and only on his own initiative become a spiritual master, he may be carried away by an accumulation of wealth and large numbers of disciples. So if he's not coming in the parampara, so that will affect them. Okay, I have so many disciples, I have so much of worth of assets. So that will give them, that sort of mentality. So the real spiritual master, bona fide spiritual master, who are following the parampara, they will not have that sort of mentality at all. Their concern is how I can make others Krishna conscious. He is not a very high grade of devotional service. He is not a very high grade of devotional service. If a person is carried away by such achievements, then his devotional service becomes slackened. One should therefore strictly adhere to the principles of discipline succession. So this is what is required. There are so many spiritual masters in different sampradayas, Ramanuja Sampradaya, Sri Sampradaya, Brahma Mada, Gaudiya Sampradaya, Rudra Sampradayas, Nimbark, all this. So they have, some have, thousands of disciples. I heard that Ramanujacharya had some 50,000 plus disciples. Okay. Shankaracharya also had. Prabhupada had only 5,000 disciples plus. Okay. Our Guru Maharaj almost 50,000 disciples. So one should not go, I've got so many disciples, so I'm number one. No, that is not. That is their compassion. They want to give this Krishna consciousness to maximum people. There's a compassion, that what's the greatness of such personalities. Just like Prahlada wanted to, liberate all the people, even if he had to suffer in this material for millions of years. That was the mode of the compassionate acharyas. So one should not be so proud of such achievements. Whatever the spiritual master has given the instruction, one should just try to follow that to the maximum extent possible. So that's what exactly Srila Prabhupada has done. He did not do anything else except following the instructions of his own spiritual master. And all the acharyas of the present generation acharyas, the ISKCON acharyas, all the sannyasis, they're also trying to follow the instructions of Prabhupada. They're trying to fulfill the mission of Prabhupada to the extent that is possible. So he is not a very high grade of devotion. If a person is carried away by such achievement, then his devotional service becomes slackened. One should therefore strictly adhere to the principles of discipline succession. Krishna conscious person, being naturally purified, has no need of developing any other purificatory process of thought or action on account of his being highly elevated in Krishna consciousness. He has already acquired all the good qualities and is following the rules and regulations prescribed for the mystic yogic process. Such rules are automatically practiced by devotees. A concrete example is the quality of non-violence, which is considered a good qualification. Devotee is naturally non-violent and therefore doesn't have to practice non-violence separately. Some people seek purification by joining a vegetarian movement, but a devotee is automatically vegetarian. He doesn't need to practice separately in this matter or to join any society for vegetarians. He is automatically a vegetarian. So these are the good side of a devotee, becoming a devotee. When a person becomes devotee, he will relinquish all other bad qualities. So this is a byproduct of becoming a devotee. So we don't have to separately endeavor for, okay, I want to be a vegetarian, I want to be non-violent. All these things, no, we don't have to endeavor separately. This comes as a package. When we try to become a devotee, all these qualifications, all these good qualities will manifest automatically by the mercy of Guru and Gauranga. So there are societies, that's why Prabhupada is pointing, there are societies who inspires others to become vegetarian. Okay, that's a specific endeavor is required. But as far as a devotee is concerned, it's not required. It's a big task for them to become vegetarians. Those who have been eating, other stuff, for them it is very big task. But for devotees, it becomes very easy. How? Because we know the reality. We know the bad, the sinful reactions of such activities. So we will automatically take to that, good side of that. We know the bad and good sides. So for devotee, it is very easy because he has the sufficient adequate knowledge from the parampara, and it is easy for him to practice. For others, they don't know what for they are doing it. They may give an external reason, but that's not enough. That will not last long, because the propensity of sinful activities have not been removed. The root of that sinful propensity is not been removed. Only when it is removed, he will be able to practice throughout. If it is just cut, the tree of the desire is cut from the surface and the root remains, what will happen? After some time, it will again grow. So for us, being devotees, the root has been, it has been uprooted. No, it will not sprout again. It's not grow again. So this is the benefit of becoming a devotee, rather than artificially, trying to be non-violent and practicing vegetarianism. Prabhupada is, even monkeys are vegetarians. What's the big deal? Okay. When some devotees came and said, Prabhupada, he is a vegetarian. And then Prabhupada said, yes, even monkeys are vegetarian. So our society is not to make people vegetarians. That comes on its own. Our society is meant to make people civilized citizens. This is our movement. So a civilized citizen can become a pure devotee of the Lord. So that is a movement. Hare Krishna, any points? Hari Bol. Okay, so we'll read further. There are many other instances showing that a devotee needn't practice anything but Krishna consciousness. All the good qualities of the demigods automatically develop within him. Those who are intentionally practicing to be vegetarians or to become non-violent may have good qualifications by material estimation, but these qualifications are not sufficient to make them devotees. So it's very clear. So these are good qualities, but these are not enough to make them devotees. For that, we have to follow Guru, Sadhu and Shastra. We should have the mercy of the Acharyas and we should follow in their footsteps. Only then they will become devotees. Otherwise, it is not possible. They can become they can become vegetarian, they can become, non-violent, all these things, but that is not enough. Only when we follow the acharyas, the Guru Parampara, and follow the principles laid down by the Guru, Sadhu and Shastra, then we'll be able to become devotees. Otherwise, it's not possible. A vegetarian is not necessarily a devotee, nor is a non-violent person. We know that there are so many societies, vegans, okay? So what is this thing? Is their goal to become a devotee? They're practicing non-violence, they're practicing vegetarianism. What is the motto? What is the motive behind them? So what is the motive behind them? It's not to become a devotee. They want to become, externally they want to become a good citizen, externally. But does it serve the purpose of human life? No. So, but a devotee is automatically both vegetarian and non-violent. We must conclude, therefore, that vegetarianism or non-violence is not the cause of devotion. That will help definitely, but that is not all in all. In this connection, there is a story in the Skanda Purana about a hunter who was converted into a great devotee under the instruction of Narada Muni. When the hunter became a perfect devotee, he was not prepared to kill even an ant. Parvata Muni, a friend of Narada, saw the wonderful transformation of the hunter by devotional service and remarked, "My dear hunter, your unwillingness to kill even an ant is not very astonishing. Any person who develops the devotional attitude has all the good qualities automatically manifested in his person. A devotee is never a cause of distress to anyone." Who is referred here?
Ugari Prabhu.
Yes. So, did Narada Muni teach him vegetarianism or non-violence? What did he teach? What were the teachings of Narada Muni to Mrigari? Okay, please become vegetarian, please become non-violent. That was what he taught. What are the teachings?
Devotional service.
Yes. What did he teach? Narada Muni taught Mrigari.
Prabhuji, is it Mrigari and Valmiki same?
What is that? No. That's different.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Yes, Hare Krishna Mataji.
He told about this karma also. He told whatever you are doing, it will not go to your family.
Yeah.
You only get everything. Then you are not doing means. Then he asked immediately. He went to his family and he asked. Then they also said, "Why will take that sin? We will not accept that." Like that.
Yes.
Immediately they said. Then immediately he asked to Narada Muni. Then how I will get the food and all. Then Narad Muni told, you can do Krishna Bhakti, take the name of the Lord, then sit like that he told. Then immediately he took that and he's sitting in one place and everybody giving some charity like that. In this way we are doing Krishna Bhakti means automatically everything will like
Yes.
this.
Haribol Mataji. So Narada Muni explained to Mrigari the reactions of the activities, what he has been doing. He explained all those. You'll have to go to hellish planets for billions and billions of birth. So then I have no other way to feed my family. What will I do? Just go and ask your family whether they will partake the sinful reactions. So he went and asked the family, so I am doing this to maintain you all. So I don't want to do it. Will you, partake? Will you take my share of sinful reaction? He said, no, why should I? Why should we? It is your duty as an husband or as a father to maintain the family. Immediately, his eyes opened. I'm doing big sinful activities, and for which I will have to suffer in the hellish pangs of billions and billions of birth. Why should I continue? Then went back to Narada Maharshi, said, so if I don't do this thing, I will maintain the family. Just sit and chant, take up Krishna consciousness, do Krishna bhakti. Everything, whatever you require, everything. So he left everything and he started doing Krishna consciousness, devotional service. Okay, so his food was supplied by the grace of God. Everything, whatever materially that he required was supplied. Doing nothing, isn't it? So it is not that if you don't do any activities, material activities, you will not be supplied by the material things. If you take up devotional service, it's a full package. Lord Krishna, some or other, will supply you. Okay, there was a story of Birbal and Akbar. I just remember that. Akbar and Birbal, they went on for hunting. Okay, of course, Birbal was the minister. He has to follow wherever Akbar goes. So they went for hunting deep into the forest. And after, some time, it was toward the dusk. He was very tired. He wanted to have some food, but nothing was available and was very hungry and thirsty. So he told Birbal, please go and search. There may be some, huts. There you can get some food so that we can, we get relief from hunger and thirst. So Birbal said, no, I have not chanted my, mantras or rounds. So I will not come. I am not hungry. If you want, you please go. Let me chant my Ram Nam. Okay. So he started chanting. Then Akbar said, if you sit and chant, I will go. I will get my food and you will go hungry. He said, no problem. Krishna will take care of that. So Akbar left Birbal. He chanted, who Birbal chanted is Ram Nam. And he went in search of some hut where he can get some food and water. So after going little distance, he saw some light from a small, hut. So he approached. So seeing that is Akbar, the king of that place, the people received him very well and fed him nicely, gave him nicely. So after he was full, then he thought, oh, Birbal is, hungry there. He may be, in difficult situation. Let me take some, food for him also. So he requested those people, please give me some parcel also, because my minister is there. And so he took the parcel and came back. And he had already done his chanting. So he ate. Then Birbal said, you see, I did not do anything. You brought the food for me. That is Krishna's mercy. Krishna will take care of. I said, you don't believe in that. So this is what will happen when we take up Krishna consciousness. So the king himself brought food for Birbal. So we should have that faith, intense faith, unflinching faith. Then everything will happen. If you think, how can Krishna do all these things? He is saying, what is that? Yogakshemam mahamiham. Ananyas chintayanto mam ye jana paripasade tesham nityabhyuktanam yogakshemam mahamiham. I will give what they lack and I will reserve what they have. So this is a promise that Krishna gives in Bhagavad Gita to Arjuna. So if you have that unflinching faith and conviction in Krishna's instruction, we don't have to run around for our livelihood. We know that there are so many brahmacharis, so many sannyasis, not only in ISKCON, any sampradaya you take. How much material activities are they doing for their livelihood? Of course, they are very busy from morning 3:30 to till 12 o'clock, propagating Krishna consciousness, doing devotional service. But for their livelihood, material livelihood, are they working? No. But everything is being met just because they are doing devotional service. So we will not go hungry. Whoever taken the right path, the Krishna conscious, they will not go hungry. All that material requirements will be met. Okay, so this is about the Mrigari. So my dear hunter, your unwillingness to kill even an ant is not very astonishing. Why? Because who is the spiritual master there? It's not ordinary person. He is Narada Maharshi himself. He is spiritual master to Dhruva, to Prahlada, to Valmiki, to Mrigari, to everybody. So if we get an association of such saintly personality, our life will be transformed immediately. Sadhu Sangha, Sarva Shastra ko hai, Lava Matra Sadhu Sangha, Sarva Siddhi hoy. So this is the benefit of getting a Lava Matra association of a saintly personalities. So Narada Maharshi, Narada Muni, even his curse will become a blessing. Isn't it? So apparently, externally, it may look like a curse, but then that will turn out to be a blessing. Just, Manigriva and Nalakuvera. Isn't it? He cursed them to be born as trees on the courtyard of Nanda Maharaj. But then they were delivered and they could go, or they could get their original form and go to Vaikuntha. So these are the compassionate saintly personalities. So we should get the association of such saintly personalities, and we should follow in the footsteps of such personalities for our reformation. So Sri Rupa Goswami affirms here in that. Sorry. But any person?
Last line.
We have read this, right? Okay. Any person who develops the devotional attitude has all the good qualities automatically manifested in his person. Devotee is never a cause of distress to anyone. So a devotee will never give distress to any other person. Devotee always wants others to be in ecstasy in devotional service. So to that extent, whatever possible, they will carry out as per the instructions of the previous acharyas. Sri Rupa Goswami affirms herein that purification of consciousness, purification of bodily activities, austerities, peace of mind, etc. all become automatically manifest in the person who is engaged in devotional service. So as I told you, these are all side benefits, byproducts. When we become a devotee, all these qualities will automatically manifest. No specific endeavor, extra endeavor is required for these qualities. Sri Rupa Goswami affirms herein that there are 9 different kinds of devotional service which are listed as hearing, chanting, remembering, serving, worshipping the deity in the temple, praying, carrying out orders, serving Krishna as a friend, and sacrificing everything for him. So these are the 9 types of devotional service as Prahlad Maharaj enunciated. Okay. So each and every one of these processes is so powerful that if anyone follows even a single one of them, he can achieve the desired perfection without fail. For example, if one is attached simply to hearing about the Lord and another is attached to chanting glories of the name, both will achieve their desired goal in devotional service. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, this has been explained. One may execute 1, 2, 3 or all the different processes of devotional service, and at the ultimate end, he will achieve the desired goal of being established in devotional service. So we may take up one process, two process, three, or all the processes. At the end, we'll achieve the desired devotional service. So these are the 9 different types of devotional service. So we can take up any one of them, or multiple of them, or all of them. So as we all know, Ambarish Maharaj was expert in doing or performing all 9 types of devotional service. For each one of the limbs of this devotional service, there's a particular personality who is famous. So let us, revise that again, although we may be knowing that. So Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, Padasevanam, Archanam, Mandanam, Dasyam, Sakyam, Atma Nivedanam. So who is the personality who is very famous for Shravanam?
Parikshit Maharaj.
Kirtanam?
Shukadev Goswami.
Vishnu Smaranam?
Prahalad Maharaj.
Okay, Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam. Padasevanam?
Lakshmi Devi.
Okay. Archanam?
Prudu Maharaj.
Mandanam?
Akrura.
Okay. Dasyam?
Hanuman.
Sakyam?
Arjuna.
Arjun.
Atma Nivedanam?
Bali Maharaj.
Hari Bol. Hare Krishna. Very good. Just a revision. Okay. There are concrete examples of how a devotee discharged one of these services and achieved perfection. King Parikshit achieved the desired goal of life simply by hearing Srimad Bhagavatam. Sukadeva Goswami achieved the desired goal of life simply by reciting Srimad Bhagavatam. Prahlad Maharaj became successful in his devotional service by always remembering the Lord. Lakshmi, the goddess of fortune, was successful by engaging herself in massaging the lotus feet of the Lord. King Prithu became successful by worshipping in the temple. Akrura became successful by offering prayers. Hanuman became successful by rendering personal service to Lord Ramchandra. Arjuna became successful by being a friend of Krishna. And Bali Maharaj became successful simply by offering all of his possessions to Krishna. So this is how, simply by taking up one limb of 9 types of devotional service, they attain perfection. There are also examples of devotees who discharge all the different items together. In the 9th canto, 4th chapter, verses 18, 19, and 20 of Srimad Bhagavatam, there is a statement about Maharaja Ambarisha, who followed every one of the devotional processes. In these verses, Sukadeva Goswami says, King Ambarisha first of all concentrated his mind on the lotus feet of Lord Krishna and then engaged his speech in describing. One second, please. One second. So in this verses, Sukadeva Goswami says, King Ambarisha first of all concentrated his mind on the lotus feet of Lord and then engaged his speech in describing the pastimes and activities of the Lord. He engaged his hands in washing the temple of the Lord. He engaged his ears in hearing of the transcendental glories of the Lord. He engaged his eyes in seeing the beautiful deity in the temple. He engaged his body in associating with the pure devotees of the Lord. When you associate with someone who have to sit down together, eat together, etc., and in this way, the touch of your body with this body is inevitable. Ambarish Maharaja made his association only with pure devotees and did not allow his body to be touched by anyone else. He engaged his nostrils in smelling the flowers and tulasi offered to Krishna. And he engaged his tongue in tasting Krishna Prasada, food prepared specifically for offering to the Lord, the remnants of which are taken by the devotees. Maharaja Ambarisha was able to offer very nice prasada to Krishna because he was a king and had no scarcity of finances. He used to offer Krishna the most royal dishes and would then taste the remnants of Krishna Prasada. There was no scarcity in his royal style because he had a very beautiful temple wherein the deity of the Lord was decorated with costly paraphernalia and offered high-grade food. So everything was available, and his engagement was always completely in Krishna consciousness. The idea is that we should follow in the footsteps of great devotees. If we are unable to execute all the different forms of devotional service, as was Maharaj Ambarisha, then the perfection of devotional service is guaranteed from each one of these items. With the first complete engagement, one becomes automatically detached from material contamination, and liberation becomes the maid servant of the devotee. This devotee is confirmed by Bilamangala Thakura. This idea is confirmed by Bilamangala Thakura. If one develops unalloyed devotion to the Lord, liberation will follow the devotee as his maid servant. Srila Rupa Goswami says that the regulatory principles of devotional service are sometimes described by authorities as a path of serving the Lord in opulence. So Rupa Goswami gives wonderful example of Maharaja Ambarisha, how he performed all the 9 types of devotional service. He engaged all his senses and organs to carry out the order of his predecessors, acharyas, and engaging everything in the service of the Lord. So it was not necessary for him to specifically endeavor or take effort for the material things. Everything was taken care of automatically because he was a pure devotee of the Lord, and he was a king. He had all the opulences. He could do everything, whatever he wanted. So this is how one has to take up devotional service. Even one limb of the devotional service, we should be able to do it. So any other points? Ambarish Maharaj made his association only with pure devotees and did not allow his body to be touched by anyone else. So what's the significance of this? Can anyone say? He did not allow his body to be touched by anyone else. Why? What will happen if we touch non-devotees?
Consciousness will be contaminated, Prabhuji.
Yes. Yes, very. Now it's a very subtle thing, but it will happen. When we touch non-devotees, when we associate with non-devotees in a subtle level or in a physical level, everything will, our consciousness will affect in a subtle way. It may not be visible for our material eyes. Externally, it will not be visible, but in the consciousness, it will affect. That's why we don't associate with non-devotees. When we associate with non-devotees, something of theirs we will get. So whatever they are doing, so we should be very careful when we associate with non-devotees, because our consciousness should not be contaminated at all. So that is what Ambarisha Maharaj is telling. So we are not by the company we keep. We should avoid as far as possible non-devotees, atheistic mentality people, or those who are envious of Krishna or Supreme Personality of Godhead. We should stay away from such people. Otherwise, slowly and gradually, especially those who are in the beginning stage, because we don't have that intense desire. We are just beginners. So we will not be able to withstand them. So we should be very careful. So those who are already on the Uttama level, they will not get affected because they are on the topmost level. They can transform others. Just like as we always say, Prabhupada went to America, he associated with hippies. He gave the association. He did not take their association initially. So when they all became devotees and his disciple, when they got purified, then he also started taking their association. Initially, they gave his association. So, any other points? Haribol?
Haribol, Prabhu.
Okay. So, this idea is confirmed by Bilamangala Thakura. If one develops unalloyed devotion to the Lord, liberation will follow the devotee as his maid servant. So, when we become a pure devotee of the Lord, Bhukti Mukti, that they will stand as maid servant at our doorstep. That's what Rupa Goswami says. Okay. So, what is important? Mukti is important, or Mukti is important, or to becoming devotee is important? What is important?
No doubt, Prabhuji, become a
Becoming
devotee.
Yes, when we become a devotee, Bhukti and Mukti, the material enjoyment and liberation is there standing, offering, yeah, please take this enjoyment, please take this liberation. They are there on the doorstep just like a maid servant. But we are trying to get Mukti or material enjoyment. Will we get Bhakti? Our goal is to get Bhukti or material enjoyment or Mukti, liberation. Will we get Bhakti?
No,
Yes or no?
Prabhuji.
No, because what we are aspiring is to enjoy materially or liberate from this material world. We will get that, but we will not get Bhakti. But Bhakti includes Bhukti and Mukti. Okay? So the person who is trying to become a devotee gets everything. Whatever is required. Okay, so any other points? Haribol, any other points from this chapter, or we'll go to the next chapter?
Yes, Prabhuji, we can go.
Yeah, okay. Another 15 minutes. Chapter 15, spontaneous devotional service. So what is this called? Spontaneous devotional service means in Sanskrit?
Raganuga Bhakti.
Haribol, Raganuga Bhakti. So what is this? What's the path that we are doing? What type of devotional service we are doing?
Sadhana Bhakti, Prabhuji.
By this sadhana.
Daily Sadhana Bhakti.
Very good. Examples of spontaneous devotional service can easily be seen in Krishna's direct associates in Vrindavana. Spontaneous dealings of the residents of Vrindavana in relationship with Krishna are called Raganuga. It is spontaneous. It's not that, oh, they are doing it by rules and regulations. After doing Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti, they will come to the level of Raganuga Bhakti. Spontaneous. Ours is not like that. We are not come to the level. We are just trying to practice. So rules and we have to follow yama niyama, rules and regulation, prescriptions and prohibitions, do's and don'ts. Okay. So when we slowly and gradually advance, automatically we will come the spontaneous, the Raganuga. So this is a slow and gradual process from Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti to Raganuga Bhakti. So these beings don't have to learn anything about devotional service. So the gopis of Vrindavana or the inhabitants of Vrindavana are on that platform. Whatever they are doing, it is pleasing for Krishna. Spontaneously. It's not the, 4:30 I have to get up in the morning, we keep alarm, then, we don't get up, again we put it off, and let me get up at 5 o'clock. Then 5 o'clock it rings, again put it off. like that. So this is, we have to, train our mind. No, what I'm doing is wrong. From tomorrow onwards, let me do it. Again, tomorrow, the same thing. But for them, it has become a practice without even any time, without any clock, or those who are devotees, those who are determined, they will get up at that time, 4 o'clock or 4:30, whatever. So it is spontaneous. But for us, we have to be beaten up, again and again. Then only will be. How many times we have to tell? It's no use. Why? Because we have not developed that taste, like the Vrajavasis or Mathuravasis. We have not developed that taste. So these beings don't have to learn anything about devotional service. They are already perfect in all regulatory principles and have achieved the spontaneous, loving service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. For example, the cowherd boys who are playing with Krishna do not have to learn by austerities or penances or yogic practice how to play with him. They have passed all tests of regulatory principles in their previous lives, and as a result, they are now elevated to the position of direct association with Krishna as his dear friends. The spontaneous attitude is called Raganuga Bhakti. So, Rupa Goswami is giving the examples of the cowherd friends of Krishna. Because that they have done all those required in their previous lives, they have got elevated to the present situation of Raganuga Bhakti or spontaneous attitude. So we have to understand that they have done all their karma, karma, jnana, dhyana, everything, all as per rules and regulation, as per Vithi. And at last they have reached the stage of Raganuga Bhakti. Sri Rupa Goswami has defined Raganuga Bhakti as spontaneous attraction for something while completely absorbed in thoughts of it, with an intense desire of love. Devotional service executed with such feelings of spontaneous love is called Raganuga Bhakti. Devotional service under the heading of Raganuga can be further divided into two categories. One category is called sensual attraction and the other is called relationship. So the devotional service in Raganuga Bhakti or spontaneous love can be divided into two. Okay, one is sensual attraction and the other is relationship. In this connection, there is a statement by Narada Muni to Yudhishthira in the 7th canto, 1st chapter, verse 30 of the Srimad Bhagavatam. There Narada says, "My dear king, the many devotees who first become attracted to the personality of Godhead for purpose of sense gratification, from being envious of him, out of fear of him, or from desiring to associate affectionately with him, ultimately these attractions become freed from all material contamination, and gradually the worshipper develops spiritual love and achieves that ultimate goal of life desired by pure devotees." So initially, every one of us even comes to Krishna consciousness with some motive. Okay, Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna says to Arjuna, the 4 types of people will come to me. Who are they? Chaturvidha bhajante mam. So these 4 type of people. So slowly and gradually, with that intention, although they come, they will take up Krishna consciousness and they will start doing devotional service. So they will advance from Vaidhi Bhakti Sadhana. Although they came with material motivation. Some people want, they want some economic development. They want money. Some are in distress. Okay. So like that, some are wise, some are inquisitive. Like that, people will come. Although with material intention, slowly and gradually, by the mercy of Krishna and his pure devotees, they will get transformed as devotees, and whatever they want, they will get. So here also, that first category is like that, for sense, for the purpose of sense gratification. So ultimately, these attractions become freed from all material contamination, and gradually the worshipper. So slowly and gradually, all this material contamination will be eradicated, will be destroyed, and the worshipper or the devotee develops spiritual love and achieve the ultimate goal of life desired by the pure devotee. So it's a slow and gradual process. Although we may be joining such movement, spiritual society, with some material motivation. But after they come into this movement, by the mercy of pure devotees, they will also get taste in devotional service, and all the material motive which they had before while joining the spiritual society, it will automatically go away. So this is the benefit of associating with pure devotees. Instead, if you are associating with worldly minded people, what will happen? We'll become one among them. Okay. If a person is associating with a business person, so the person will have the tendency of becoming a business person. If a person is associating with some film industry people or sports personalities, they will also get the same taste of becoming that in that field. So that's why we should always associate with devotees. Then we will become, if not today, tomorrow or next life, will become pure devotees. The gopis may be considered to be examples of spontaneous love in sensual attraction. Externally, the gopis' attraction towards Krishna may be on a sensual level. The gopis are young girls and Krishna is a young boy. Superficially, it seems that the gopis are attracted to Krishna on grounds of sex. Similarly, King Kamsa was attracted to Krishna because of fear. Kamsa was always fearful of Krishna because it had been foretold that his sister's son, Krishna, would kill him. Shishupala was also always envious of Krishna, and the descendants of King Yadu, due to their family relationship with Krishna, were always thinking of him as one of their members. All of these different kinds of devotee have a spontaneous attraction for Krishna in different categories, and they achieve the same desired goal of life. So different people have relationship with Krishna in different ways. Okay. Some for sensual enjoyment, some because of fear, some because of relationship, some because of enviousness. They all have relationship. Slowly and gradually, that will turn into pure devotional service and pure relationship. The attraction of the gopis for Krishna and the affection of the members of the Yadu dynasty are both accepted as spontaneous or raganuga. The attraction of Kamsa to Krishna in fear and the attraction of Shishupala in envy are not accepted as devotional service. However, because their attitudes are not favorable, devotional service should be executed only in a favorable frame of mind. Therefore, according to Srila Rupa Goswami, such attractions are not considered to be in devotional service. Again, he analyzes the affection of the Yadus. If it is on the platform of friendship, then it is spontaneous love. But if it is on the platform of regulatory principles, then it is not. And only when affection comes to the platform of spontaneous love is it counted in the category of pure devotional service. So, if the affection is on the platform of regulatory principles, it is not. Only when it is on the platform of spontaneous, it is called pure devotional service. So, we are all practicing, we are all practitioners doing by the sadhana bhakti. So, by our intense desire and by the mercy of Vaishnavas and the blessings of Krishna, one day we will also come to this category of executing pure devotional service in Raganuga Bhakti. Okay. So, any points or any comments from these paras? Report. So, I will stop sharing here. It's 8:30, and so next, please note down the para starting. There may be some difficulty understanding that both the gopis and Kamsa achieved same goal. Okay, so please note down somebody. Okay, so this is which chapter number?
15.
15. Yes. Okay. So I'll stop sharing. Please put